First and foremost, all praises are due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the brothers around the four corners of the earth who are teaching this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, a few men, women, and children that believe in this word. This is your brother Kwat Sabah coming at you again with another lesson. This one is entitled, The Elephant in the Room is Esau, so-called white man, the devil. Okay, they are the sons of the wicked. Let's get a definition of that, of what the elephant in the room means. So this is a definition that I found on the internet. The elephant in the room. It says here, the elephant in the room is a major problem or controversial issue that is obviously present but avoided as a subject for discussion because it is more comfortable to do so. So those of us who are in this truth, we know who the obvious problem is of the world. It's Esau, okay? This wicked devil. And all the other countries around the world are beginning to understand where the true problems of the world are coming from. And the obvious problem is Esau. So he is the elephant in the room. It's becoming more and more obvious. Let's read 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 1. It says, this is Paul speaking, and he says, Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord, Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day of Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, which means destruction. So the day of the Lord was not possible until we fell away, and that happened in 70 AD with the siege of Jerusalem. You had 1 million of us that migrated into West Africa. Some of us went as far east as Japan and China and other various parts of the world. But the major migration took place towards West Africa. And of course, our Northern Kingdom brothers, many of them were already over here in Northern America and some in Latin America, known as the Latinos and Native Americans, all right? They were here previously circa 722 BC after the Assyrian captivity. They went through the river Euphrates and around the Horn of Africa and migrated to Latin America as well as North America. And also maybe some of them also ended up in the Caribbean areas as well. So when it says here the falling away, that was primarily talking about those known as the Jews, the tribe of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. So that falling away was, of course, the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And of course, through the years, we've lost our way of life, our heritage, our culture, and who we were. And we started to live what? A Gentile way of life from being scattered. Let's read this again. 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, the day of the Lord, when Yahweh Shai comes back, the Messiah, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. So that has happened already in 70 AD. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, of destruction. Now Esau has been revealed. We know Abba Bivens, mid-60s to the late 60s into the 70s. He taught 3 men. They taught 7 men. They taught other men in Harlem in a school known as One West. So this knowledge of us being Hebrew Israelites has spread all over the world. And Esau, the so-called white man, the devil, has been revealed, all right, through the men of the Lord. So he's been revealed. And even the other heathen nations are understanding who the elephant in the room is, who the man is that is causing the world problems. that he's a murderer, he's a thief, he's a liar. He's been revealed. That's why he is doing everything he can now to speed things up to bring about the MOTB. And I'm speaking primarily of the Edomites who have the real power, the international bankers. Okay? Those are the ones that are speeding up the process of getting the MOTB, spoken of in Revelation 13, verse 16. Because this devil knoweth that he hath but a short time, roughly paraphrasing Revelation 12 and 12. Let's read it one more time. Let's read 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 3 to NLT. Don't be fooled by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion against Yahweh, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the one who brings destruction. And you could say that us falling away is like a rebellion against the Lord. But now many of us are coming back. We're known as the hopeful elect. So the Lord's going to bring a remnant back. He's going to beam up a remnant into the chariot of Yahushai on the day of the Lord. But like I said, the son of perdition has been revealed, the so-called white man, the devil. 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 4, the KJV, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahweh, or that is worship, so that he as Yahweh sitteth in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is Yahweh. Now you have those fake Israelis, those small hats, who are in our homeland, who have taken on our way of life, our culture, and are calling themselves Jews, but they really are the synagogue of Satan. Let's continue. Let's read verse 5. It says here, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. This is Paul speaking still. And now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. So that falling away had to happen in 70 AD. So that has happened. We migrated, many of us, into West Africa. All right. And then many of us, of course, were involved in that transatlantic slave trade in 1619 AD. But we lost our culture, our way of life, and we fell away. But many of us, like I said, are coming back. The knowledge of us being Hebrew Israelites is all over the internet, over YouTube, known as the unicorn in the Bible. So the man of perdition is being revealed. He can't hideth himself anymore. Let's read verse 7. 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 7, it says, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work, only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, which is happening now, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So when it says here, the spirit of his mouth, that's happening via the men of the Lord, the prophets, the apostles, the teachers, the bishops. All right? We are consuming him with the spirit of our mouths via the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And then he'll be finally destroyed, what? With the brightness of Yahushai's coming, the Messiah. And then on that day, you're going to have what? Nuclear weapons coming towards Babylon, America, from Russia and the other nations, and laser fire from the chariots of the Lord. So that's going to be the brightness of his coming, Yahushua the Messiah. In the hope for elect, we are looking forward to that day. Let's continue reading. Let's get a precept. Let's go to some more precepts. Psalm 64 and verse 1. So we have Psalms chapter 64, and this is verse 1, and it reads, it says, hear my voice, O Yahweh, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. This is David speaking, and we know who our primary enemy is. Those of us are the hope for elect. Our primary enemy is Esau, the so-called white man, the devil. Let's continue. Let's get a precept. Let's go to 1 Peter 5 and 8 for a precept. For more information on our enemy. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. We have 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, and it reads, it says here, be sober, which means stay alert, be clear-minded, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, because the word devil means adversary. So those of us, even if you're not in this truth, you should have an awareness who your adversary is. This so-called white man, the devil, over all the things he has done to us in our history. And I'm talking about the so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and so-called blacks, collectively known as the Hebrew Israelites. All you have to do is go back in history and see what this devil has done. Let's start again. 1 Peter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And now more than ever, he's going around like a roaring lion because he knows that his time is up. Time is ticking. Yahushua is on his way. So this devil is getting ready to be like a madman sparing none. And you can see that with Donald J. Trump, the crew leader, and what he's doing. You see, as far as ICE with our Northern Kingdom brothers. And then in September, he's going to issue where the Haitians that are here are going to have to go back to their homeland and be deported. So all these things are happening for a reason, because this devil knoweth that he hath but a short time. So he's going to try to circumvent the Lord's plans to bring Yahushua back down in rulership as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But he's going to fail miserably. All right, let's read it again. 1 Peter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Let's go to Psalms. Let's go back to Psalm 64, if I may. Let's read Psalm 64 and verse 1 again. Hear my voice, O Yahweh, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy, our adversary, our main adversary, this devil, the so-called white man. David continues, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. We know the wicked is Esau, so-called white man, the Edomites. From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. He's a worker of iniquity. All you have to do is look at his history and what he does. Killing, stealing, robbing. That's all he does. That's all he's known for. But he's being revealed in these last days. These last minutes of the last days, I should say. Let's continue. Let's read verse 3. He continues talking about our enemy, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. That's talking about us, the chosen people of the Most High, the Hebrew Israelites. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. And like I said, all you have to do is look at the history of this devil and what he's done. All right? Let's get a couple of examples. The Native American Indians in the Trail of Tears in the mid to late 1800s. Slavery, of course. Okay? So-called black people in slavery, feeding our babies to alligators, raping our women, raping some of the men, the boys, all types of manner of cruelty, hanging our black men from trees. Also, what they've done to the Latin Americans, the conquistadors. Okay, there's a history of what this devil has done. All right, shooting at us. Okay, at the perfect, because we are the chosen people of the Most High, the apple of the Most High Yahweh. Let's read verse 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares. Privily, they say, who shall see them? This sounds like the devil Esau. He's been revealed, okay? They do things, and then they say, who, me? Okay, who's going to see us? Okay, how could we? Let's read verse 6. Let's read Psalm 64, verse 6 to NLT. As they plot their crimes, they say, we have devised the perfect plan. Yes, the human heart and mind are cunning. So this devil is always at work. He's a worker of iniquity. Let's read verse 7. It says here, Psalm 64, verse 7 to KJV. But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow, Suddenly shall they be wounded. And we know millions and millions of arrows are coming towards Babylon, America. It's going to be a lake of fire. All right. So we're looking forward to Babylon, America being destroyed. And as a hope for elect, we hope that we're beamed up into that chariot with Yahushua, and we can watch the indignation, the righteous anger of the Lord come upon Babylon, America. Psalm 64 and verse 8 reads, so shall they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Now this devil is actually turning on himself. He's revealing himself, okay, to the whole world. So you have Egyptian against Egyptian, a house that's divided, Republican against Democrat, the LGBT community against those who are against that, within the Edomite community, okay? So he's revealing who he is, okay, amongst themselves. Okay, their own tongue is falling upon themselves. Their own tongues are ruining them, revealing who they are, who the son of perdition, the son of destruction is. Let's get some precept on that. Let's go to Isaiah 19 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 1, and it reads, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. Now this is referring to Babylon, America. There are certain scriptures in the Bible where Egypt is referring to Babylon, America. Same with Nineveh, Assyria, all right, Basra, Edom. Many of those terms, if you have the spirit of the Ruach Kodesh working with you, you'll realize they are referring to Babylon, America. Let's start again. Isaiah 19, verse 1. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. So Yahushua is going to come. It says swift cloud. That's speaking of a big, gigantic spaceship. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Babylon, America is going to be burnt via nuclear fire and laser fire from the chariots. All right? It's going to be a lake of fire. Let's continue. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So that's happening now. Like I said, Republican against Democrat. Okay, you have some of the MAGA people are divided against each other. Okay, as far as policy with Donald J. Trump. So they're going against each other. Let's start again. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. You also have the European Union and NATO that are not happy with Babylon, America. So there's infighting amongst the Edomites. There's always been infighting amongst the Edomites, even back towards the days of Alexander the Great, okay, in 300-something BC, and the Romans. Okay, you have in the Roman times, you had what? The publicans against the patricians, okay, which is nothing more than what? The Republicans against the Democrats in this day and time. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything recycles, you see? Let's read this again, Isaiah 19 and verse 2. He says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, Americans against Americans, Edomites against Edomites, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. You even have what? Putin in charge of Russia, and those are Edomites. They are against the United States, Babylon, America. And the spirit of Egypt shall fall in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord. That's speaking of Donald J. Trump. And a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. So many of these Edomites that voted for Donald J. Trump are realizing they made a big mistake. And he was not really for them. He is working for the international bankers. He's on their payroll. He does whatever they want him to do. Let's continue. Let's get matter of fact, let's go to Luke 11 and verse 17 for another precept. Luke chapter 11, and we have here verse 17, and it reads, it says here, but he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom, this is Yahushua speaking, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. So that is happening in real time right here in Babylon, America. Also, like I said, you have the Americans against the Russians, against the European Union. So all this infighting is going on. And the Lord Yahweh is doing this. You see? Everything is going according to the plans of Yahweh. Okay, he's the best of all planners, I should say. Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4 for some more precepts. Habakkuk chapter 2, as soon as I can find it here. Habakkuk chapter 2, and let's read verse 4, and it reads here, it says here, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. So when it says his soul, which is lifted up, it's talking about Esau. He's a very proud man, okay? Let's continue. Verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. So he has what? A whole bunch of doctrines, okay? Men with men, women with women, pedophilia, bestiality, all types of manner of wickedness. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Who does this sound like? The son of perdition, the son of destruction, who is being revealed. He can't keep at home. He has to go in other nations and take over their countries, take over their money, bring in false doctrines, okay? Making the other nations drink of the fornication of their wine. There are nations that never dealt with men with men, women with women, okay? All manner of wickedness that they're dealing with, trying to copy Babylon, America. Like I said, he can't sit in one place, okay? We have, perfect examples of that. The Native Americans, okay? Latin America, all right? The conquistadors, the African continent, what he's done there, the fake Israelis taking over that land, driving out the Palestinians who don't belong there either, all right? But either way, he can't stay in one place. He's a very proud man. He can't be satisfied because he's a worker of iniquity. Let's continue reading. Let's read this again, okay? Habakkuk 2 and verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. So we have a whole bunch of examples of this devil. You got the Iraqian wars, okay, and in the early 90s, the early 2000s, stealing oil, going to Afghanistan, okay, trying to get heroin, bringing that back to the United States, destroying the people here. Okay, so he's done a whole bunch of stuff. It says here, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? So other countries are getting fed up with this goddamn devil Esau. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So that's talking about thick clay means debt. You see? Right now, Babylon, America is in debt to the tune of what? 33 trillion? maybe more than that, you see? So that's what it's referring to when it says thick clay. Let's continue. Read. Let's continue with Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2 and verse 9. Continue. Shall they not rise up? Okay, the other countries that are realizing who this devil is, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? So now you have the BRICS nations, okay, who are combining their currency. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They are coming against the harlot Babylon America. And this is why. Verse 8, Habakkuk 2, verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Let's read Habakkuk 2 and verse 8, the NLT. Because you have plundered many nations, now all the survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled the towns with violence. The son of perdition, he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what he's done throughout all of his history. But he's being revealed. The elephant in the room, okay, is being revealed. Let's continue. Let's go to verse, let's read Habakkuk 2 and verse 9, the KJV. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Let's read that in the NLT. What sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly, stealing other nations' wealth, stealing their resources. Okay, we have various examples of that. You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nests beyond the reach of danger. But now this devil is losing everything, you see? The chickens are coming home to roost, as they say. Let's read Habakkuk 2 and verse 12, the NLT. It says here, what sorrow awaits you who build cities with money gained through murder and corruption. Verse 16 says, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. Come drink and be exposed. So this devil's time is ticking little by little, okay? The clock is ticking on you devils. The devil knoweth that he have but a short time. Let's go to Nahum chapter 3 and let's get verse 1. Because his skirt is being lifted day by day. And like I said in Psalm 64 verse 8, he's revealing himself. He's telling on his own, his own tongue is telling on himself. Nahum 3, and let's get verse 1. He's spilling the beans on himself. Nahum 3 and verse 1 says, woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots. The horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. So we know eventually nuclear weapons are going to be sent via Russia and other nations, primarily towards Babylon America. But the Lord also is going to gather all the nations in one place. All right, we have many enemies, but our main enemy is Esau, this goddamn devil known as the Edomites. But the other heathen nations are going to be gathered with Esau in World War III in the Valley of Decision, in that Persian Gulf area. You see? And the Lord's going to kill many men, okay, in the War of Armageddon. And then those missiles are going to fly towards Babylon America, because those nations are going to realize who the real problem is. All right? Babylon America, the harlot, okay? that has made all the other nations drink of the fornication of her wine, of her debauchery, of her wickedness. Let's continue. Let's read verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, Babylon, America, the well-favored harlot, okay? The mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts is Yahweh. He's the Lord of armies, the earthly armies and the heavenly armies. And he says here, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. So we're in that process right now. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vow, and will set thee as a gazing stock. And it shall come to pass that all that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh, like I said, there are some countries, okay, the ancient countries in the Bible that are really referring to Babylon, America. This is another instance. Nineveh, okay, let's read this again. Nahum 3 and 7. And it shall come to pass that all that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? You see, no one's going to care when Babylon, America is destroyed. Let's read, I think that's it. So on that note, all right, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Rakakwadash. I hope this lesson was edifying to you. Shalom.